Now we're trying autopilot. We're going up this blind hill, and let's see what this car is doing. No, it's not happy. So I'll try to safely demonstrate some of the problems or issues that you might have with the autopilot. You know, if you try to put it on in a place that's not that obvious, like someplace you'd never use cruise control, like this road, for instance, you can get into trouble. It's just important to recognize it is in a beta mode and it is learning. But for instance, if I click the stick twice here, it'll pick up the speed limit, and we can see that it's 50 max and it's got the blue steering wheel illuminated. Now the cameras are picking up the lines, the road is turning to the left, and everything is going fine. There's a car ahead of me. The car is picking up with its cameras what's there. Now we see a sign, and now we are going to have a problem right now, and I'm going to catch it. Okay. So in that corner, the car got confused, and it would have taken me over the curbs, and if I hadn't intervened. So these systems can give you like a false sense of complacency, and then, you know, in an instant they can catch you out. So I'm going to go back and just look at that corner a little bit more carefully and see if just to really get analyze what the car was doing and why it wasn't able to do that. Okay, so here's the other side of that corner, and you can see why. You know, if you're a car and you're reading these lines, you know, it'll read the yellow line and the white line. Let's just see here. And all these other cars, I mean, it's fairly obvious to the driver that you know, there's a sign there, and then there's curbs and bollards that are in place. But if you're a car and your camera's picking up this white line, well, it's sending you right through that bollard, isn't it? And so it's not going to pick up that yellow line right there. If you're a car, you're reading those lines and you're going straight right through that. Okay, so that's a situation where, you know, it's a little bit of an odd corner, and the car is just not quite ready to handle that. Now there is the potential for the car to learn what to do, because, you know, this is on my school run to my house, and it does have nav, so it does know where it is, and it does know where I'm going. So there is the potential for the car to do it once and then learn, or to get deeper into the nav system and know that you're supposed to turn there, because that's on the nav screen. It'll tell you that that's a corner. But for right now, this is not a corner where you want to try to use autopilot. So Tesla's autopilot is in a completely different league, and we can see that the car, you know, because it has the camera arrays, can pick up all the vehicles in a front, back, and side to side. The autopilot's very fussy that you pay attention to it, and that you touch the wheel every so often. If you don't do that, it boots you out of the system, and it tells you that autopilot isn't available for the duration of the journey, and even if you stop the car and start it, it won't let you do it again. So it basically gives you a timeout and tells you that you're not paying enough attention, and that it's going to discipline you by pulling the feature for a while until you can get your act together. So it's there's times driving this car where you think that it's smarter than you are, and semi-sentient. Anyway, the autopilot works brilliantly. I think for whatever reason it doesn't want to let me do it right now. It doesn't think I'm a good enough driver to use it at the moment. I hope to earn its respect later and have it enable the feature for me. it's important to realize that it really is only as good as the lines on the road and so on, and it can get confused. So you wouldn't want to be 100% reliant on it. However, if you take the position that you're just monitoring it and you still have your hands on the wheel, I mean, it goes a long way to reducing fatigue, and especially if you happen to be a distracted driver, you know, I believe it's a much safer system. But you don't want to lay down on the back seat, put your feet on the steering wheel, and just assume that the car is going to properly deal with every situation, because it's just not there yet. Musk makes great use of the cameras, and he says that the cameras have greater bandwidth, and there's a lot more information flowing into the car from the cameras than radar. And so these systems, and you can see how well they work, is very reliant on the camera system. Other manufacturers, and Waymo and some other autonomous vehicles, use LiDAR. And LiDAR is basically laser radar. It basically spins in 360 degrees, takes thousands of different, or sends basically thousands of different light pulses out every second. And then these light pulses then bounce back to the LiDAR unit, and it gets very, very precise measurements on how far everything is away. So the LiDAR, coupled with medium and long distance radar, coupled with the camera, and when you take all of that data and you fuse it together in what we call sensor fusion, then you get the ultimate in kind of data reliability. Because if the camera gets confused by something, then the LiDAR is there to back it up, and it knows exactly how far everything is. Cameras don't on their own know how far things are away. They can take a picture of something, and they can infer how far it is away by identifying the object and then knowing how large that object is. And if the object is, they determine it's a horse or something like that, and it knows that horses are 2.5 meters tall, well, 2 meters tall, and it knows that it's like 1 centimeter high on the screen, or in the photo, it'll know that the horse is whatever, a kilometer away. It can get confused though if it misidentifies objects or doesn't identify objects. If the car can read the traffic signals with the red, green, and amber lights. So if it sees an amber light in the sky, it might just naturally assume that is an amber signal, and you should put on the brakes right away. But if the sun happens to be in that position in the sky, the car could also assume that the sun is the amber light, and then jam on the brakes. There could be somebody behind you, and it could cause an accident. So you need a lot of good code and a lot of AI for the computer to say, okay, well, it may be an amber light, but is it flashing on and off? It may be an amber light, but what's it doing on the horizon at noontime? It should be straight above us, so it probably that it probably is a light and not the sun. If you have LiDAR, you can bounce a laser beam off the light, and it'll come back to you and tell you that that traffic light is exactly 30 meters away. It'll try to bounce a laser beam off the sun, and it won't get anything back. Okay, so it'll know that amber light in the sky, nothing came back to it on the LiDAR, and it'll know that it's in the evening, and the AI will figure out that is actually a star, and it's not a traffic light, and it won't break. Okay, so this is very sophisticated computer programming and AI, which is necessary to classify all these objects. Musk feels that cameras are enough. Other people think that only with LiDAR and that absolute positivity of distance of objects can you get, bet your life reliability. Okay, and I've quit arguing with, or not arguing, but I'm going to give Musk the benefit of the doubt. I've learned to do that. But still, other companies like Lucid, for instance, or Rimac, again, higher end vehicles where cost isn't so much of an object, are using LiDAR in conjunction with cameras and radar for their autonomous driving functions. The Teslas get by with medium and long range radar and cameras, but not the laser radar, which is LiDAR. Still, I mean, there's no system that I've driven in that comes anywhere close to this and what the cameras achieve, in terms of the confidence you get, driving around your blind spot and so on. And, just sitting in this car and driving it for the better part of a week, I mean, this car knows what's going on around it. So, at least in perfect conditions. So I have a lot of confidence in what Tesla's doing and a lot of confidence in the autopilot. I don't even use cruise control. I don't even like cruise control. And I find the adaptive cruise controls from just about every manufacturer to be really fussy. I just don't use the system at all. But when I get in a Tesla, I use the autopilot, such is my confidence in it.